We in New York City are very lucky to have so many dedicated public servants, many of whom are in the room today. With great passion, they look at their job as an opportunity to make our city a better place. As someone who worked for city planning for a short period of time, this is not easy. Those of us in the private sector with any brains appreciate and treasure these public servants. Today, we recognize a true public servant, Howard Slotkin, who started out as a physicist but came to bring some order to our big, complicated, messy city. Howard works harder than almost anyone I know. He sweats the details, but as importantly, thinks about the long-term consequences of the city's actions and is willing to work to shepherd through the system controversial proposals that make the city a better place. I met Howard 10 years ago when my firm was part of a team working on the former Brooklyn Navy Yard Briggs site. Howard worked closely with the community in developing a plan that both met their desires and penciled out. No small accomplishment. I have been very happy to be involved in many of the forward-thinking zoning reforms he worked on as the agency's first director of sustainability, such as allowing and encouraging energy-efficient buildings and car sharing. He also moved swiftly to action immediately after Hurricane Sandy to lead the city's efforts to revise zoning so the rebuilding effort would not be hindered. And now Howard is shaping new zoning text changes that will improve housing, create more for special populations like seniors who face extremely tight housing marketplace. Howard has made a big difference to our city and its future, and we're lucky to have him. It is my pleasure to recognize his achievement today.
Unlike Mark Ginsburg, who met Howard a decade ago, I didn't meet Howard Slotkin until I arrived at city planning. However, his reputation had preceded him as the department's spiritual descendant of the great Julie Spector, for whom Spector Hall, the city planning hearing room, is named at 22 Reed Street. Indeed, I quickly discovered that Howard is, as Julie Spector was, the intellectual conscience of city planning. He is the person we all turn to when there is a particularly knotty challenge, the person who can think through the implications of a proposed course of action, the framework for a major new program, or all the pitfalls associated with a suggested minor tweak in existing regulations. For all of this, Howard is our go-to guy. We ask a lot of our most senior public servants. We want them to be innovative but not impractical, bold but not contentious, smart but not arrogant, a deep thinker but not incomprehensible, and, well, I have to admit, sometimes I don't totally understand Howard, but I suspect that's just a reflection on my own intellectual capacity. Howard manages to have all of these attributes and more. If you work at city planning, we also ask that your work shape the city, not just for today, but for the future of our children and grandchildren. Our work is forward-looking. But we also ask that you exercise a high degree of quality control because what we do lasts for a very long time and is not easily reversible. Howard is one of those rare public servants who can manage all of this with good humor while remaining unflappable and retaining his mental health. In the limited but intense time we have worked together, I have found that if I want the short answer, Howard is not the person to go to. But if I want the right answer, the thoughtful answer, the answer that neatly fits into the framework of all we do while advancing the complex mission of city planning, there is really no one better than Howard Slotkin and no one more deserving of this award.
On behalf of the Board of Directors of CHPC, we are delighted to present the 2015 Roger Starr Public Service Award to Howard Slotkin.
Thank you to Mark and to Carl and to Geraldine, to the CHPC board. This is kind of an overwhelming experience. I'm used to the fuss being made over the principals and not over folks like me. So I'm going to do my best to sort of take a compliment here and just roll with it. It's a true privilege and pleasure to work for Carl, with Carl. I privilege and pleasure, not necessarily a leisurely experience, but truly a remarkable experience, and one I look forward to getting back to promptly upon the completion of this luncheon. As planners at the city level, we often find ourselves managing the second and third order effects of broader forces, economic, demographic, political, that are really beyond our control directly. I've sometimes compared this to driving a car. If you had a steering wheel but no gas pedal or brakes, you could only do so much to start or stop the car, but if it's going, you'd better be pointed in the right direction. And of course, everyone on the outside sees your head through the window and holds you responsible for everything that's going on. This is, a metaphor and a characteristically strained metaphor for the challenges I think we experience in a lot of the work we do. But I think it's really important to keep in mind, to continue to torture this metaphor, that the driver needs to also be comfortable asking for directions. We need to be smart, we need to be practical, we also need to be well-informed and open-minded. We can listen to each other, learn from each other, and this really makes us all that much more effective. I really, truly believe this. This has been my experience with working with Mark, with so many of the other people in this room. Standing here a little uncomfortable from all the attention, but it's really important for me to point out that none of the projects that were mentioned, none of the projects I've worked on and have been able to be a part of could have happened without the work of so many other people, in particular the people at City Planning, who are too numerous to mention, recently present over my 15 years at the department, who I found to be the most incredibly talented and dedicated people one could hope to have in public service. But also the broader community of practitioners who are, in large part filling the room today. It's incredibly important for us to have groups like CHPC playing the kind of thoughtful and constructive and intelligent role that they do in our process, which helps us puzzle through things like the building envelope conundrum. And not only puzzle them through, but also to help to really mobilize support for actually fixing them and doing something about them. And I am and will remain eternally optimistic about what we can accomplish if we put our heads together like that. Thank you.